in the downpouring rain. We're just coming through a good walkthrough. Just to recap, obviously we talked last week about a big win in London, and we had a really great bye week practice-wise, kind of re-looking at everything we've done during the year, and we've had a really good start to our preparation against a really good Seattle team that is tough at home. I mean, it's crazy, their winning percentage at that place. It's loud, but our guys are excited, ready to go, and with that, I'll open it up for questions.
What do you think about Gino Smith?
Well, I'll tell you this now. He's very talented. He has a strong arm, as you'll see. He can get the ball. He can launch the ball down the field. He can hit the deep ball. And on the flank, they get his two good receivers, as you're going to see. And Alex Collins, the running back, I mean, I was with him for 2 years, 1,000-yard runner. He's really shifty, and we got to be at the top of our game, really making sure we knock the run game out, but really being on the top of our game in terms of, with those receivers. And, keeping Gino in the pocket, not letting him extend plays, things like that.
You mentioned the receivers. DK Metcalf probably as physical of a receiver as there is in this league.
Oh, yeah.
How do you, deal with a guy like that? Because, there aren't many players that can hang with him one-on-one.
He launches everybody. Well, I tell you just got to match the physicality. You have to. You can't let someone just all day just beat up on you. You got to match the physicality, and you get help at times, but you got to match the physicality. That's what you have to do.
Coach Carroll, you talked about they've been sacked a bunch of times in the last couple of games. Coach Carroll got on a radio show earlier and said Gino's holding the ball too long and he's trying to force a big play, and they want him to start throwing the ball out of bounds more. So from what you've seen on film, is it Gino trying to kind of hang in there and make a big play, or is the offensive line having issues, or what are you seeing?
Well, sometimes, it goes hand in hand. You don't want to make a mistake either. You don't just want to launch the ball up when you're under pressure, and then all of a sudden you're throwing it blind. I mean, he's done a good job. You take a sack. He could probably get rid of the ball quicker at times, just like any quarterback. But I think it goes hand in hand where, he just doesn't want to launch balls up blindly, and that just to get rid of it. But obviously, he's being coached to probably get it out a little quicker. But the Saints got to him a few times in the second half, and we're gonna basically hope our coverage is tighter, our rush is better, and when our rushing coverage works together, then you can get there.
How encouraged are you about this last game against the Dolphins? You put your offense on the opposite side of the field 3 times. You had never done that in the previous 5 games. So, and Trevor mentioned it yesterday. He talked about the complementary football. How encouraged are you that your defense really helped them out last game?
Well, I think that's a great point, Gene. When you look at it like complementary football, we always say if we can get the ball 2 times on the plus side of the 50, the odds of, Coach talks about it in the plan to win all the time, tilting the field, like when you have them backed up and you make a stop, that's big. We get the punt return, now we're on the plus side of the 50. You stop them, it's like a turnover on 4th down on the 49-yard line, whatever it was. So those are huge plays in the game. And now your offense doesn't have to drive 80 yards to score. And big play, we're a team that I think is coming around, our big play potential on the other side. They're doing a great job. And we just got to continue to do that. We're stressing that. We got the takeaway when we need it. We got to get more. And then that's what complementary football is all about. When you can do that and then take the ball away and play good defense, and that's the entire team, as Coach talks about, then in situational football, then you get a chance to win every week.
You stressed a lot about this whole physicality thing, and you're doing a pretty good job of stopping the run, but you haven't been able, for whatever reason, to force a fumble this year. Do you just look at that as kind of just one of those quirky stats that's kind of an outlier, or do you honestly think that your team needs to do a better job of,
I think
putting their helmet on the ball or whatever?
Seeing the ball, punching the ball, having opportunities to, when you're the second, third man, just keep, and they come in bunches, keep working it, stripping from the backside if someone has them up, punching. If you're away from someone has them wrapped up on one side. We just got to continue to get better. In practice, we're doing it better, and we're excited about moving forward. If we can get better in our takeaways, eliminate explosive plays, in the pass game, and that's rush and coverage. It's not just the back end. That goes hand in hand, and just do the little things a little bit better. You're going to see, you should improve.
Obviously knows the Seahawks defense pretty well, but has he been helpful at all with their offense? Maybe some of the tendencies of some of the guys and in meetings at all?
Well, there's always little things when you go against your old team, and he had a great run there. He has a lot of respect for Coach Carroll and what he's done there and what that team has done, and obviously the receivers. He went against them all the time, so he might have a few little things that he has shared. But it goes both ways too, when you have an opponent that's played with you and going the other way. But yes.
Urban talked about how coming into the season you guys wanted to play one man, you like to be a very man-heavy team, but as the season has gone on, you've realized that you sort of had to transition to a little bit more zone. Can you just talk about why the zone fits your personnel now better than maybe you thought entering the season?
Well, I mean, when you look at the games, like when you play a team like Tennessee, you're going to load the box. When they go big, we have to make sure we're in man coverage to stop 22. And then when you look at the pass game that day, they had 180 yards throwing. And we had a couple mistakes in terms of dropping your man. It wasn't really getting beat physically. We dissected everything. And then we've played zone. Cincinnati, we were about 80% zone. So, I mean, we've played, it goes hand in hand, and then the game plan. You have to play tight coverage in those 3rd and 2 to 4 windows. Because if you just play zone, you're giving the easy slant. So you got to be a little bit better when you do play man. The rush got to get there a little bit better. You got to be tighter to your man and it's not always about getting the interception, but knocking the ball out of his hands. Like Tyson against when we were backed up on 3rd and 2, we went man versus Arizona. You knocked the ball out of the guy's hands. So you just got to be a little bit better. And the zone eyes give you an opportunity. We worked on landmarks, breaking of the ball, things like that, help you get more bodies to the point of attack in terms of the pass game.
But is it more than situational? Obviously, there's situations where you have to play man, you have to play zone. There's some teams that can just play sort of whatever they would like because of the personnel that they have.
No, I don't think. And not any one team just sits in one thing. They'll have a beat on you. But no, we'll balance it and mix it.
Tyson and Miles Jack so far.
Good. They're working to get back. Good. Fighting to get back. They're doing good.
What about Meyer had said something about trying to get Cisco on the field. You guys working to get that done?
Yeah, I mean, he played. He plays a lot of special teams. We had situations last week he got on the field, and there'll be more where he'll get on the field.
What is really your emphasis to Tyson, over the next, 11 games?
Well, unfortunately, he got hurt. So, and you look at, he was making a lot of progress, and, a couple plays against Cincinnati. He had a couple plays against pretty much a historical receiver right now. Historical. In terms of look, you guys can figure all that out. But through the first 7 games, I think he's second in the history of the NFL with yardage, touchdown in every game of over I think he's got 5 over 25 yards. So, I mean, he beat up on some other guys too, and just keep going, and then obviously getting healthy, and then keep improving.
You spent some time here early in your coaching career. You coached in Baltimore, so you've had some long trips out to the West Coast. This franchise historically struggled in those trips out to the West Coast. What is it about these long trips that just make it difficult on a team, and what have you seen in your coaching career that could maybe help to ease that West Coast, problems this franchise has had?
Well, I think, with anything, I mean, I always thought it was harder to go the other way when they came out here and you're playing at 10 in the morning. But just, adapting to it, sometimes we've gone out a day earlier, sometimes we went out early Saturday morning, changed everything up. I've been out there where we've won big and been out there where we lost big. So I think it just goes your mental focus and your preparation, and kind of like the mindset going to London. I know we've been there before, this organization, a lot more than other teams, but now you went 8.5 hours over the ocean, over the Atlantic Ocean to get there. So I think it's a mindset. You're in a hostile environment. You gotta start fast. You gotta weather the storm early, and then and make the plays that you're supposed to make. But I think just adapting to, using every minute wisely, hydration, all that stuff comes into play. But I don't think there's a science of I've done where you go out the same day, you go out the day before. I don't think that there's anything to that. Now, history's behind you. Let's move forward.
Have you seen a change in the middle focus of the team coming back from the bye week since the win?
Even leading up to that, I think their focus had been, we talk about, obnoxious communicating in terms of a defense, offense, special teams, everything, but really just being detailed and communicating. the silent defense to me is always a dead defense. So the more you can communicate, everyone being on the same page and loud, especially in hostile environments, okay, it's an opportunity to just keep getting better and absolutely have, really even a couple weeks before, starting to go that way. And we've had a great week so far in preparation.
With the exception of the 84-yard touchdown last week that Metcalf had, what did New Orleans do, in your opinion, to really, I don't want to say handcuff the Seahawks, but kind of keep them where there was just not, there just wasn't much there offensively for them?
It was a tight game, Gene, and I think the special teams wise, I think they missed a couple field goals, the Seahawks, so it's a different game maybe if they hit those. And then in the second half, they came up with some big stops and got them behind the chains. I think all their sacks came in the second half. I just think that there was some key situations where they got them in long yardage situations, and that helps your defense. That was the big thing, I think.
Last one? We're good?
Thanks, Joe.
Good, appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Joe.
thanks.
Come on in, good.
Wasn't like 12:01.
Battle time.
Yeah.
What maybe stood out to you most in your self-scout?
Yeah, we got some good information on it. I think one of the biggest things, obviously, is our third down. We've got to be much better there in third down, really across the board. And as I told the players, the thing that happens is, I look at it a bunch of ways. I don't want it to be like all them. It's not all us. Like how can we all improve? Whether it's a better play call or whether it's our overall execution. We've had, I think Coach probably talked about it, but we had 7 penalties in that area, which makes it harder. Knocks you back. We've had 8 drops in that area. We've had other issues. So those are the things we can't inflict it on our own selves, and that's one of the big takeaways from like the third down in the red area. We've done a good job scoring touchdowns, but it's either touchdowns or nothing, right? So we've got to correct that as well.
What does Seattle do well defensively?
Well, I think first of all it's their scheme. Coach Carroll and Kenny Norton have been in that scheme for a long time. And they have interchangeable parts that they can use with different players, and they really know their scheme well. So they know where all the holes are. They know where people are going to attack you. In the last couple weeks, they've kind of been adding a few new wrinkles to it as well. But I think that's what it is how well they play their scheme, how well versed they are in it, how well they know they're going to be attacked, and then they attack those plays.
How versatile of a player is Jamal Adams over there?
Yeah, he's a problem. He's a problem. He's all over the place. He's does a great job of getting after the run. He causes problems in run run blocking schemes because he's going to run through. He's going to run off the edge. So he's a problem, and he's the same really in protection as well.
You know how wild that 12th man in Seattle can be. How do you talk to Trevor about dealing with some of the crowd noise? I think Coach Meyer said somebody around the building told him that's probably the loudest stadium in the country, louder than any of the college fields he's probably been at.
Yeah, for an outdoor stadium, I had good years there with that noise, and for an outdoor stadium, it's about as loud as it can be. And I think that great fans there. So for us, I think the first thing is understand it's going to be loud, but then you're poised and functioning in that atmosphere. So obviously out here at practice, we've got it cranked up in all the periods, and the thing that it does is it affects your communication. So we have to really be on point with that. You got to have the nonverbal communication, you got to have signals, all those things, and still need to be poised enough in those situations where it can speed you up, in your mentality. So you got to stay poised and understand I still, the clock is still 40 seconds and all those things, and get your stuff done and orchestrated in a timely fashion.
In a situation like that where you have to do a lot of things silent because you can't hear the guys, does it help when you had an offensive line, even though there's some injuries, a lot of these guys have been together for a while?
Yeah, for sure. It helps with the timing of some of the, they understand the timing of the center with all the silent counts and those kind of things. So I think that does help you.
Statistically, the Seahawks have not been very good defensively, but they were good this past Monday night. What did you see different from them on Monday night that maybe the tape didn't show in previous other games?
Yeah, I think one of the things is just overall is their numbers as far as just yards or rushing or passing, but they're not giving up a lot of points either. They're lower in the league in terms of the yardage, but they're doing a great job of not giving up points. They're somewhere in the middle. So They only gave up 13 points in that game. They've done a really nice job of, I think settling it down a little bit with their scheme. They had some really nice pressures in the New Orleans games as well. And, they like I said, they changed a couple of their zone coverages from last week. And, I think that, surprised a little bit.
Tempo is, in a game like this, the crowd noise and all that going on, is tempo important in a game like this?
Well, I think it's always important to get a good rhythm, and whether it's fast tempo or not, I think it's more about the rhythm that you can get. Seattle's pretty well versed in the fans with people coming in and all the situations. But yes, I would say that tempo can definitely help you, and because they don't stay hyped up, for the whole 40-second play clock, right? So sometimes you can catch them in those moments.
You mentioned about how the noise for this outdoor stadium is about as loud as it can be. But for somebody like Trevor, I mean, do you really expect him to get rattled by that? I mean, he just doesn't. His personality just doesn't seem. Now, I'm not saying he can't make a mistake or can't throw an interception, but I mean, do you actually think that he's somebody that could actually get rattled by something like that?
Well, he's been very poised since he's been here. That's one of the things like we've talked about. He's really impressed me with that, and none of the situations been too big. He's been in big moments. I mean, he's been in huge moments, right? National championship games, all those kind of things. So I'm not expecting him to get rattled. No, and just you have to be able to handle the elements, whatever they are.
How impressed have you been with Tyler Shatley and his ability to go in there for Brandon over the past few weeks?
I'm glad we have him. That was a great pickup for us. To bring him back here. He's a calming presence, obviously, for the quarterback, just like Brandon Linder is, because of the veteran that he is, how he can orchestrate things. Trevor doesn't have to do it all by himself, and so that's really comforting for a young quarterback.
Looking at the wide receiver group over the bye week, what did you see from those guys? Did you have a conversation with Laviska about maybe things he needs to work with now that he's playing on the outside rather than in that slot spot where he's kind of used to and been used?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at all of that really, and all of our guys. I think the one thing that stood out to me is how our improvement. We've talked about that a bunch. I like the trajectory that we're on. We're making improvements all across the board, getting better. So we need to continue to do that, and we're going to just continue to move those guys around. We'll use Laviska in the slot, we'll use them outside, and just trying to be smart with the things that we're asking. Really every player to do.
When you have a guy like Jamal Adams who moves around so much pre-snap, what do you kind of stress to the tight ends and running backs?
Well, you got to know where he is. You have APB out on him all the time to make sure that we understand in protections, how he can wreak havoc in the run game, how he can run through those kind of things. So there's basically APB out on him all the time.
Would you say he's one of the more unique safeties in the NFL just for how he's deployed and his skill set?
Yeah, they love to have him around the ball, and try to really attack the ball. He does a great job when you drop back of adding on. He does a great job of running through in run schemes. So he's a problem.
Hey, Darrell, there's a pretty big game this weekend, just to get off the topic, but when you were playing college, who did you hate the most?
Who did I hate the most?
Yeah, what team did you
Minnesota.
really-
The Gophers.
Minnesota?
Is that the right answer?
Whatever answer you think it is.
Yeah, the Gophers would be mine.
Okay. There could be some other teams, but why do you think Minnesota?
Oh, well, it was the longest rivalry in 1A football. I don't think they call it 1A football anymore, but it was the longest rivalry, and it was a big rivalry for us.
Okay.
Jamal Agnew kind of adds a facet to your receiver group that after DJ Chark's injury, you're kind of missing that speed to kind of home run hit. How do you balance, hey, I want to use him on offense, but they still have his special teams responsibilities?
Well, he's basically become, one of our starting wide receivers. So it's a bonus. At first, it was a bonus for us on offense because he was the kick returner. We could use him as a receiver. But now he's one of our three guys. He's one of our main guys. So he's going to be out there a lot, and I don't expect him really to have any drop off in his return game. But we're going to use him the best we can because he makes big plays for us.
You've seen his growth firsthand. From Detroit, the first conversion to wide receiver to here. How much growth have you seen him make in a short time? And how out of the ordinary is it for a guy that hasn't played wide receiver to just kind of pick it up and start making plays this way?
Yeah, his growth's been has been tremendous. He's picked it up real quickly. It's funny, sometimes we always joke with the DBs, we send them over there because they can't catch, right? And that's why they became DBs. But he's always had those ball skills, and he's always had the movement skills. So that was the one thing that I saw when it wasn't working out for him over there, that, we were going to have him on the team. It's like, yeah, give him to us and we'll use him. But, still had to learn the wide receiver way, learn releases at the first level, learn releases at the second level. And I think that he's a quick study. He's picked it up really well. There's the natural ability to move around guys, make guys miss because of the returns that he does. So some of that, came pretty seamless to him as, for the release game. And his ball skills were, he already had them. So just putting him in the right places, moving around, kind of spoon feeding him a little bit. And now it's like, hey, here's the whole deal. Let's go.
Thanks, Coach.
All righty. Thank you.